Joining me now, 2000 Republican presidential candidate, Congressman Thaddeus McCotter of Michigan. Congressman McCotter is also author of the book Seize Freedom, American Truths and Renewal in a Chaotic Age. Thank you for joining me, Congressman. Let's start with this new ruling by the NLRB. Now, they're only requiring that employers post a list of rights that every employee has already had for decades. Why the outrage here?
Well, I think you absolutely hit it on the head. We're talking about increasing the regulatory burden on businesses. We're also talking about an NLRB, which, as we saw with their attempts to coerce Boeing into remaining in Washington rather than exercising their rights to be able to locate anywhere within the United States, they see as beneficial, is this administration is using that institution to try to advance its political agenda rather than to treat the NLRB as what it is, which is supposed to be an umpire that facilitates discussions in the private sector between business and labor. Unfortunately, they are no longer doing that thanks to the Obama administration. You know,
Congressman, we're going to get into this a little bit later in the show as well, but what do you make of AFL-CIO President Richard Trumka's remarks about maybe not concentrating so much on supporting Democratic candidates during their campaigns, but maybe get a more uniform approach to making sure that their agenda is heard once those candidates get into office? What do you make of those comments?
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. Clearly, the Obama administration's reckless record on federal spending, on federal deficits, on debt, and its record on the economy is something that working people throughout America, whether they're in a union or whether they're in a right-to-work state, understand is harmful to them. And that we're seeing, as we heard from the last report about the Fed Reserve Board's report, a downturn in a revision to go down in terms of economic growth projections, and this hurts real working people. But as for what they're doing, are they trying to leverage Mr. Obama because it's heading into an election year? That's probably more the case.
Congressman, we have certainly the earthquake earlier this week. We have this hurricane top of mind. Everybody here on the East Coast, including those in Washington. Sort of the president back from his vacation and delivering his economic address has been put on the back burner a little bit here over the last couple of weeks. What do we expect to hear from him? He's going to deliver this after Labor Day, and this is really one of his last opportunities to say, I'm doing a 180, I'm changing directions, this is what I've got on jobs.
Well, I don't think he's going to change direction. He's going to continue the failed policies that he's put forward before, which revolve around big government, taxes, more spending, deficits, and debt. This is what he's going to do. Now, he can call it anything he wants, but in the final analysis, it's not going to work. The American people know it, and the fact that he has taken his time over his vacation to come up with something doesn't mean that it's somehow going to be any different or more helpful to the economy.
Congressman, you know, earlier in the day, I read that Majority Leader Eric Cantor said federal disaster relief should be offset with spending cuts elsewhere in the budget. This after, of course, the earthquake hit his home state in Virginia. That just doesn't sound good to me, and I know a lot of people have been outraged about that. What are your thoughts about Cantor's statement there, especially with this hurricane coming up the East Coast?
Well, first, our hearts and our prayers go out to the people who will be suffering under this disaster. But what we have to remember is all Eric is trying to say is that the federal government should put those people first. People in disaster areas should come first, and excessive and wasteful government spending should be used to take care of both the people who are harmed as well as protecting the federal deficit, which affects everyone else. So I don't think that he may not have said it particularly elegantly, but I think the sentiment remains the same that we see across America is put people who are in a disaster area, prioritize them, and reduce excessive wasteful spending to do it.
Congressman, finally, you're running for president. How is your campaign going along? Is it what you expected? And you're kind of getting into some crunch time areas here, aren't you?
Well, I think it's an exciting campaign in the sense that we're not getting a lot of coverage. You accepted, thank you.
Thank you.
But the reality, but the reality is that in Iowa, when you go in front of people, they're very receptive to the message. When you go to New Hampshire, it's very receptive to the message, and those are the ones who are going to make this determination. So I'm from Detroit. Whatever comes at you, just put your nose to the grindstone, work hard, and try to make good things happen.
It's the namesake, Congressman. That's why I wanted to have you on. You know, I'm Irish, but Congressman McCotter is like, you know, Irish squared to me. That's why they threw the MC in front of his name. Congressman McCotter, thank you so much.